I think it's important to note that it is like during this time that I have my first encounter with my father where he abuses me and shows me like some extreme violence. And I don't remember it, happening to me before that time. And I don't even know if I have any recollection of it happening to my brothers at that time. Of course, now I remember a lot of instances of abuse. I remember the cries, I remember the scars, I remember a lot of the things, but there are also like huge chunks of my childhood that are like blocked out. And the only thing that I could think of is that those times in my life, in my childhood, were so traumatic that I blocked those time periods out. Sometimes I think about if that's something that I need to like unlock. Should I think about being hypnotized, or should I think about like somehow in some way trying to bring those or recall those memories so that maybe I can work through them? Or is it a sense of, okay, my body, my mind, whatever, wanted to block these moments out because they were too traumatic and I just need to leave it where it is? So, get in the comments and let me know what you think. But okay, so let's get back into it. Let me go back to what I was saying. And this was actually like my most watched video on YouTube was when I was telling the story about tickle torture. And a lot of people don't really realize that tickling is a form of torture. In fact, what ends up happening is that your body ends up sending mixed signals to your brain. And what feels like a tickle sensation, feels pleasurable, feels fun, or whatever, really is like a mixed signal within your brain. And when it's done too much, when it's done in excess, it's actually like your body actually goes into a whole different mode. You have to look it up because it's actually a form of torture that is used in a lot of different countries, and who knows, it's probably used here too, child. But it's a tactic that's used, and there's been instances where people were tickled so much that they had traumatic body responses in their heart, breathing, like all of this stuff. Like, it's actually a proven method of torture. And also, tickling in some cases is a grooming tactic as well. You also hear where people who have been SA'd or abused in that way, it started off with tickling. It started off with touching in different spots, and then it progressed into abuse. And it was one of my most watched videos on YouTube. And I was telling a story about how that was done to me. My father always liked to tickle us for some reason. We were in the car. It was really weird, and I can only assume that he liked to do this because we couldn't go anywhere. And so he would always tickle at our legs. He would reach back in the back seat and start tickling at our legs and stuff. And usually the ones who had to sit in the middle seat, the B seat, that's what we used to call it. I don't know if y'all call it that. Anyway, let me know what y'all used to call the middle seat. But anyway, we had to sit in the middle, right? And I was the second to the youngest, plus I was the only girl. So you already know I was going to sit in the middle. My brothers, they were going to be on the outsides, being the protectors. And then, of course, they were bigger, so they weren't going to sit in the middle. They was going to put me in the middle. And then my little brother, right? And so my father would reach back and he would tickle at our legs and stuff. And sometimes it was fun. But it's something weird about my father is that he would start off like tickling, but then he would start scratching. And y'all, for some reason, my father had the strongest nails. I have never seen anybody with nails this strong. Nails, like actual nails. You know what I mean? They were that hard. But yeah, he would start scratching and pinching at us like when he started tickling. And this time he was doing that to me. And so he started like scratching, pinching at my leg. Like, who does that? But he was doing it. And I was like, stop. Like, I was like, it hurts, stop. And I'm a kid, right? I didn't even realize this, but I was 5 years old at the time. And so I'm kicking at him, stop. And I don't know, probably screaming, probably just being a little girl in pain who's being scratched and pinched by her father. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't realize that my father was becoming angry about this. And so he got out of the car and he was like, he asked me to get out too. He was like, get out of the car. And so when I went to reach my leg out of the car, he grabbed it. He slammed the door on my leg. And like, that was my first encounter, like at least my first time experiencing my father's abuse. I guess the first time was when he would be scratching and pinching at my legs. I guess that's technically the first time. And I just got more abuse in response to the abuse, I guess, when you really think about it like that. But that was my first like memorable encounter. And so now if we was fast forward to present day, my father claims that it was the hitmen after him and all of this stress that was going on in his life. And you'll hear that as we progress in the story. You're going to hear that down the line, that he believes that it was this stress, this situation, this fear for his life that is the reason why he abused us. And this is the thinking of a narcissist. This is someone who does not take accountability for their behavior. This is someone who there's always going to be a blame. And so for a lot of my life, for most of my life, and even to present day, because my father just claimed that he wrote a book called The Hitman and the Preacher. So even still, he's sticking with this story that there were people who were actively trying to kill him, and that is the reason that he abused us. It's unfortunate. It's truly unfortunate. But I don't think that he realizes that he's responsible either way. Let's say that there were hitmen after my father, right? Like, let's just say that was the case, right? Then would they not be after him for things that he had done? For gangbanging, for pimping, for drug dealing, for the violence that he inflicted on people. Even over the years of growing up, my father claimed that he had killed people. And would it not have been that someone was trying to kill him? Like, I thought about that growing up. And not only that, but like, you would ultimately still be responsible for your behavior, because even if someone was trying to kill you, it would still be because of something you've done. Does that make sense? Obviously, to him, it does not make sense, because in his mind, those circumstances are the reason he abused us.
Most people think of tickling as harmless fun, a game between friends, siblings, or parents and children. But what if I told you that tickling has a dark side? One that's been used for torture, control, and even grooming. Let's start with history. Tickling has been used in ancient Rome, medieval Europe, and even in some interrogation methods. Why? Because it creates total powerlessness. You can't stop it, you can't breathe, and it leaves no visible marks. That's why some victims say it feels more violating than a slap. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Tickling is also used in grooming. Predators use it as a way to test boundaries, normalize unwanted touch, and condition their victims to accept physical control. It starts with innocent play, but can quickly become something else. The worst part? If the victim protests, they're told, it's just a joke. You're too sensitive. Gaslighting at its finest. But let's be clear. If someone is uncomfortable, it's not funny. It's not a game. Discernment tip. Next time someone tickles you or someone else, ask, are they stopping when told to? Are they pushing past discomfort? Because a person who respects boundaries will stop the moment you say no. Have you ever been tickled in a way that felt like more than just play? Drop a red flag in the comments if this resonates.